shared secret between him and Jeffrey Epstein, a bizarre reference to age, and, quote, certain things that the two men have in common? Yeah, okay. The White House today decided to claim that this is not really from Donald Trump, that this is clearly, in their words, not his signature on this document. Pretty immediately, other examples were obtained of President Trump signing his first name in various contexts right around that time. And the signature from those other uncontested signatures of his, I don't know, looks pretty exactly the same. I mean, just a layman's understanding of these things. But here, look. This is the birthday book for Epstein that has Trump purportedly signing it, Donald, in 2003. Here, the New York Times publishes an example of a book Trump signed to Jeffrey Epstein in 1997, Donald. Here's the Wall Street Journal publishing an example of a letter Trump signed, Donald, in the year 2000. Here's the Wall Street Journal publishing an example of a letter Trump signed, Donald, in 2006. Now, I'm no forensic handwriting expert, but if the White House is hinging its whole defense against how ferociously creepy and suspicious this all is on how much these signatures don't all look alike, how much these signatures don't look like each other, if that's their defense, that's a terrible defense. This is the sitting president of the United States. In addition to the creepy Our Shared Secret Naked Woman References to Never Aging document from Epstein's birthday book, Epstein's estate also today handed over to Congress this photo in which Epstein, who you see on the right there, is holding a big novelty check for $22,500. It is a check that is made to look like it is from Trump to Epstein. So it's Trump purportedly paying Jeffrey Epstein more than $22,000. The caption alongside the photo, which the Wall Street Journal says was written by a longtime Mar-a-Lago member, indicates that the check is because Epstein sold to Donald Trump a, quote, girl who is described as, quote, fully depreciated for $22,500. What's that about? This, of course, comes after President Trump said just earlier this summer that the reason he had a falling out with his longtime friend Jeffrey Epstein after 15 years of friendship was because Epstein, in Trump's words, stole a young woman from him. One of Epstein's sex trafficking victims, who Trump says Epstein stole from Trump's spa at Mar-a-Lago. Real normal stuff here, you guys. Real normal. I mean, what in presidential history even approximates a scandal this disgusting? What in the history of the United States of America, for anybody in any position of public trust, approximates the level of repulsiveness that Donald Trump brings to the presidency with this trailing behind him like a snail trail?
This past weekend, the We Are All DC march drew thousands of people into the streets. They were chanting Free DC. They were chanting Resist Tyranny, anti-authoritarian messages, as well as Trump must go now. But to me, the real story is what's been happening every single day since Donald Trump's takeover, which is these decentralized, sustained, creative resistance movements. Now, in my book, I talked about really why small, repeated actions will often outlast big one-time marches. And the reason why the ongoing smaller actions often have more shelf life is that they're harder to police. They can sometimes keep energy alive between major events. They can create like a constant flow of visuals and stories that social media can amplify. You do one big protest, which is great, which I'm in favor of, by the way. But you do one big protest, it'll get a little coverage beforehand, some coverage during, a little bit of coverage after. But it's basically like a really steep distribution curve. Goes up quickly and comes down quickly. But here what we are seeing is that because it's one thing after another, and the people with the pots and pans, we called in our, it's funny because this is the oranges of that, the origins of it are sort of in Latin America, including Argentina, the country that I'm from. Cacerolazos is what they're called down there. The banging of the pots and pans happening every night at 8 p.m. The neighborhoods are erupting with noise. And this is designed to be impossible to ignore without requiring permits and without risking mass arrests, which, of course, if everybody gets arrested, the party sort of comes to an end right away. We are seeing protesters dropping banners from bridges. I was driving around, in fact, and I saw some of these banners. Mobile billboards are being driven around Washington, D.C. Messages are being projected onto buildings. These are really high visibility, low risk activities. They bypass the traditional nodes of control from law enforcement, and it makes them really great for this sort of activism. In terms of organization, there's a lot to be learned here because we've seen residents use WhatsApp and Signal to alert neighbors. There's an ICE checkpoint here. There's an ICE checkpoint there. There are masked arrests taking place here. And this really turns every one of these instances into a potential flashpoint to publicly shame those who are carrying out these arrests. DC flags, you see in windows. You see protest graveyards that say like due process on a headstone. The implication being due process is dying here. We have seen ICE heckled and jeered by crowds. We saw J.D. Vance and Pete Hegseth heckled at Union Station in Washington, D.C. And what we are seeing is that this is working. And interestingly, after declaring war on Chicago, when Donald Trump was most recently asked, when are you going into Chicago? He said, well, we're figuring out exactly where we're going and when. He seems desperate. And instead of de-escalating, Trump seems to be doubling down and making even more threats, posting AI-generated war images of himself, renaming the Department of Defense the Department of War. He is desperate to project dominance, but he is rattled. Your activism is working. Now, I like to look at history. If history and protest dynamics are sort of a guide here, the daily actions hopefully feed into something bigger. Now, I already told you that on October 18th, we have the second iteration of the No Kings protests. Between now and then, the way I see it is every small act builds capacity. People learn that, hey, there are things going on. The networks and the safety protocols are learned and understood so people know when No King's Day comes, how can I protest effectively, but how can I protest safely and legally as well? And the more Trump starts to beat it off, for lack of a better term, the more it's actually giving it oxygen. Now, the most likely scenario, eventually, No Kings, October 18th, is an escalation by Donald Trump. We're going to see, I would guess, even more aggressive policing. We're going to see possible curfews put in place. We might even start hearing about preemptive arrests of the organizers, sort of like a pre-crime Minority Report type of idea. But this could get risky for Donald Trump, because if you keep protesting and you keep activating, it may turn moderate critics of what Trump is doing, who aren't necessarily dead set on getting out there. They might say, wait a second, look at all this activism going on, and look at Donald Trump using authoritarian tactics to try to stamp it out. I'm going to get out there as well. And we could see this expand to city after city after city. Chicago may well become the next front of this fight because Trump is targeting it and because the mayor of Chicago and the governor of Illinois seem very much prepared to fight against it.
Aren't going to want to hear this, but they really took Joe Biden for granted because once they sent this man packing, the money that he had sent at their communities got yanked right back by Donald Trump. And that happened because Donald Trump signed the One Big Beautiful Bill. And what's even worse is that the MAGA Republicans in the House can't even explain to their own voters why the rug got pulled out from under them. But that's okay because we're going to name and shame some of them. First up is Rep. Malloy from Utah. St. George was set to receive $88 million for I-15, but now gone. Next up is Representative Guthrie from Kentucky. Bowling Green was set to receive $10.2 million in pedestrian safety funding. Not anymore, they're not. Montana, you're up next because one of your representatives, Ryan Zinke, if you thought you were going to get $63 million for a highway project and $24 million in Missoula, guess again. Next up is Representative Harris from Maryland. There was supposed to be $3.3 million that was going to go to Easton and $1 million for Berlin. That's all gone. And there are a lot more examples like that I could share. But the reason these communities were going to get this money was because Joe Biden signed a bill into law, which was the Inflation Reduction Act. When Donald Trump came in and signed the One Big Beautiful Bill, all that money got pulled back. So I hope there aren't any folks in those communities who are whining now that they're not getting that money, because this is exactly what you voted for. And if there are any folks out there who said something like, well, Joe Biden doesn't speak to the working class, I'm going to leave you with this. The target of the funding clawback is the Neighborhood Access and Equity Grant Program, one of a series of provisions included in former President Joe Biden's Inflation Reduction Act that seek to use federal dollars to ease long-standing social and economic inequities. It sounds pretty pro-working class to me. If you're a Trump supporter who stayed till the end, first of all, thank you. Secondly, you're in the find out stage now.
Last week, Speaker Mike Johnson, one of the most powerful Republicans in Washington, made an audacious claim. He said that Donald Trump cares so deeply about the women who were abused and harmed by Jeffrey Epstein that Donald Trump was, wait for it, and sit down if you're not, was actually an FBI informant.
When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down.
He said that. Republican Thomas Massie, who's leading a bipartisan push to release all the Epstein files alongside his colleague, a Democrat, Congressman Ro Khanna, had this to say about Republican Speaker Mike Johnson's comment.
The lawyers for the victims said that Donald Trump had been helpful in 2009 in their case by giving them information, but being an informant implies some formal connection and ongoing relationship with the FBI. I don't know what that's all about. I think the speaker needs to clarify that. And if it's a hoax, why was Donald Trump an informant to a hoax?
Yeah, why? So, again, these are all Republicans. This is Republican Thomas Massie with the $64 million question. Why was he an informant to a hoax? So Mike Johnson, getting caught with his sycophant hat on, did go ahead and clean it up. He backed off his claim that Donald Trump was an informant in the Epstein investigation. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, told reporters this today, quote, "Oh, I don't know if I used the right word." Speaker of the House, guys. I said FBI informant. I'm not sure. I wasn't there. This isn't my lane. I'm just repeating what is common knowledge and what has been out in the public for a long time, end quote. Speaker of the House.
Oh, I didn't know that. Take it down. Take it down today, right now. Nobody told me that. So you're saying there's a blue tent?
It's been there for 30 plus years. It was originally a peace tent. It's kind of
morphed into radical left. Okay. Is it in the ellipse? Where is it?
No, it's in Lafayette Park.
Lafayette Park. Take it down. Okay?
And this is where it was. The guy who just renamed the Department of Defense to Department of War, the guy who ran on the being the peace president, just ordered the longest standing vigil in American history, which was a peace vigil, an anti-nuclear peace vigil, calling for peace, no war, to be destroyed in one fell swoop by just speaking it. This is exactly where we are in this country, speaking your First Amendment rights away at the whim of a mad king. Let's go talk to Filippo, who's been at this vigil for 40 years. So you've been here sitting at the vigil since the early 80s?
Yes, sir.
And what do you think of what has happened today?
Look at our signs. There's nothing on our signs that's so vehemently so anti-USA. And he went on to mention that we had weapons and that there was a rat infestation because of the vigil. There's wasn't rats. There's no weapons. Also, if there was weapons, for the 44 years that the park police have been bringing through their dogs, the dogs have never been triggered to bark because we've had firearms, gunpowder, or explosives, and they would because that's what they are trained for. I've seen other people get barked at because they did have weapons. They were able to foil somebody that had a weapon. So that's never happened in 44 years.
So more lies from the fucking wannabe dictator.
Right.
What's the plan now? You're going to stay here?
Yeah, and then also Tomorrow we're going to be talking with the ACLU. I got advice from a couple of lawyers. There's also lawyers that want to be teaming up with the ACLU and representation for us in the federal courts. And we have plenty of...
Well, America has your back, brother.
Yeah, brother. Peace and love.
Listen, I'm going to follow up with you. We have your back. Thank you for everything you do.
You're welcome.
It doesn't matter what their vigil actually is about. They have the right to free speech. But what they're saying about the vigil, it being radical left, anti-America, is also all lies. This is an anti-nuclear peace vigil that's been here for 44 years. If we don't have our freedom of speech, first to 10, what's next?
We're right at the front of a major protest in downtown Chicago that is right outside Trump Tower here in the city. And part of what they are protesting here, as you hear them cheering and really booing in some cases outside of Trump Tower, is they are protesting no Trump, no troops. That is obviously in response to the threat that the president has made to deploy National Guard troops here to the city of Chicago. But this is also in response to the heightened threats of more immigration enforcement here in the city, along the tune that we saw in the city of Los Angeles. We've been following this for a long time. Again, this happening outside of Trump Tower. We've been following this for a while, and it really seems like it's in the hundreds, potentially even in the thousands, as they've made their way through the city of Chicago, really the heart of the city here.
Masked ICE agents in conjunction with Metropolitan PD just shut down the intersection of K and 5th Street over what appeared to be an altercation with a teenager. I'm getting mixed versions of the story from locals. We heard about it and we immediately responded to it. We got here minutes after they left, where there was just about 20 Metro PD cars, Homeland Security cars, and masked ICE agents that responded to some altercation with what appeared to be a teenager, a 16, 15-year-old child. He was detained. We don't know any of the details of how this started, of what led to it. But I want to say two things. We got masked kidnappers out here, ICE, Gestapo out here. Already at 11 o'clock in the morning, we're on the corner of K and 5th. Here's a picture of the agents. Here's some pictures of the vehicles that they're driving. Please take note of the agents and the vehicles they're driving. Be on the lookout, and please notify us of any sightings you see so we can respond, document, and catalog.
A witness just testified before the committee that the Department of Justice sent her a letter warning her not to testify before this hearing today. You heard me correct. The Department of Justice sent her a letter saying, do not testify before this committee today, which is essentially witness intimidation. Her name was Liz Oyer, and she was the pardon attorney for the Department of Justice before she was one of the DOJ layoffs.
On Friday night around 9:15, I learned that the Deputy Attorney General's office had directed the Department's Security and Emergency Planning Service to send 2 armed Special Deputy U.S. Marshals to my home to serve me with a letter. The letter was to be served at my home between 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock on Friday night. I was in the car with my husband and my parents when I got the news that the officers were on their way to my house where my teenage child was home alone. Fortunately, due to the grace of a very decent person who understood how upsetting this would be to my family, I was able to confirm receipt of the letter to an email address, and the deputies were called off. The letter had been emailed to me just before 8 o'clock that night. The letter was a warning to me about the risks of testifying here today, but I am here because I will not be bullied into concealing the ongoing corruption and abuse of power at the Department of Justice.
She also just testified that she was fired from the DOJ because she refused to go along with the Deputy Attorney General's desire to return Mel Gibson's gun rights back to him, which had been taken away because he was convicted of domestic abuse. And apparently Mel Gibson is a friend of Donald Trump, and that's why they wanted to give him his gun rights back. She refused to go along with it and was fired within hours of that refusal.
I'm not MAGA, please don't scroll. I have a moral compass and a soul. Everything I'm stating here is factually accurate and has been reported in mainstream media. During Donald Trump's first term as president, he invited the Taliban to U.S. domestic soil, Camp David. Adults in the room at the Pentagon said no. During that same first term, he sucked up to Kim Jong-un of North Korea. And prior to him becoming president, he welcomed help from Russia in his campaign. So it's no surprise when I see this.
He may be coming and he may not, depending on what happens. We have a lot of things happening over the next couple of weeks. But I thought it was a nice picture of him. Okay of me, but nice of him. So that was very nice that it was sent to me. Okay?
Mr. President.
On
Yes.
that subject, have you talked to Vladimir Putin about the fact that yesterday a big U.S. factory was hit in a Russian airstrike in Ukraine? What's your reaction to
I
that?
told him I'm not happy about it. And I'm not happy about anything having to do with that war. I said I settled 7 wars, and actually, if you think about pre-wars, add 3 more, so it would be 10.
And all throughout the years, his most loyal supporters said, well, Donald Trump is playing the old game of keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Y'all just don't get it or won't accept the reality of it, MAGA. Donald Trump is allies with Putin, even when Putin attacks U.S.-owned companies abroad. And now Donald Trump is threatening, saying that if Congress doesn't extend his soft martial law of D.C., then he'll declare a national emergency. These social media companies are putting out policies now saying you're adding to or inciting instability surrounding civil unrest. No, I'm not. None of us are. Donald Trump is. Donald Trump is taking actions to create civil unrest. Donald Trump is taking actions to create the possibility of a World War III, of which Russia has already said it's already begun. It's just in a different form. MAGA is a lie, a malicious influence campaign meant to divide us, to give way to authoritarianism, and to aid and assist our known enemies. The President of the United States of America aids and assists our known enemies. It's shit like this that the Declaration of Independence was written for. TikTok or Instagram or any other platform, you want to penalize someone for stoking civil unrest? Go after the president. Because true patriots support the Constitution and will support and defend it till our last breath. Somebody arrest this fuck.
It's time for the Trucker John Livestream. Gonna be a good time. Oh yeah. The Trucker John Livestream. Come along for a good time. It's a good time, good time, good time, good time. Trucker John Livestream. Gonna be a good time. Gonna be the time of your life. Gonna talk some shit. Hush your mouth. Gonna talk a little smack. Gonna talk whatever comes of it. You're gonna always wanna come back. Well, yeah, it's the Trucker John Livestream. He's the biggest, baddest, funniest mother you've ever seen. Watch your mouth, he's headed south. Not even sure what that means, but if it's one thing I know, the Trucker John Livestream is the best thing you've ever seen.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've been waiting for. Trucker John.
Alrighty. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Hopefully I'm coming through loud and clear. Let's see here. Didn't mean to cough. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. All right. Didn't mean to cough into the microphone. Like a big dummy. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning. It is 9:41 a.m. here in beautiful Las Vegas, Pacific time zone. So it is still morning here. And we're sitting at about 88 degrees. We're supposed to get a high of 99 today. So nice to see. Hopefully we can stay out of triple digits. That'll be nice. Have you guys gotten your new Gavin sneakers yet? Your golden Gavin sneakers? Today's show brought to you by Gavin Newsom golden sneakers. Anyhow, thanks for being here. I'm not able to scroll back to the top of the very beginning of the chat. It won't let me do it. But I do seem to recall that Susie Jones was first, and she put the time. Susie Jones was in here at 2:20 a.m. And then I think Paul Burrows is right behind her, going to work at the fish hatchery. So anyhow, the first chat that I'm able to see right now is Belfast Bob, who says, "Woohoo! Woohoo back at you, Belfast Bob. Thanks for being here in the old driver's lounge." Belfast Bob coming at us all the way from Ireland, putting up with the right-wing nut jobs over there in Ireland also. James Jaramillo is here, says AGDT. I'm not sure what the AG part stands for. Arrest. Something, I don't know. Donald Trump. Rosanna's here. Hey, Rosanna, good morning to you. Thanks for those beautiful flowers. Damon Dog, the big dog, is here. Says, meanwhile, I'm in here harvesting pre-trimming sun leaves and getting my dry cure room ready. There you go. Nick Rich is here with a timestamp 9:17 a.m. I'm at 9:43 right now, so that's how far behind I am. What are we, 26 minutes or something? Something like that. Like, oh yeah, just maybe the dandelion got to him. No ill effects. I was putting that intro together to the last second there. And I think the intro, I enjoy putting those intros together. Just to sort of, I guess, if nothing else, at least for my own channel, kind of document each day that we go through, I guess, good and bad. And we could document what's going on with this Trump administration. And through those clips, we see that, Trump is just this wannabe dictator, authoritarian. We see the abuses by ICE, his abuses of occupying cities, declaring states of emergency where there really is none. So that's kind of why I do it too. If for no other reason, just I guess for my own edification. Hey, VD Hertz is here. Good to see you, VD. Thanks for coming on in. VD Hertz says high school grad test proved the least intelligent ever in the USA. Sad. Sad. Rosanna is saying hi to James Cutie Jaramillo. Roxanne 79 is here. She says, I bet your AC guy is like, hell yeah, bro. I had my termite guy tell me I had the best cannabis tray he'd ever seen. You dopers. All you do is talk about pot. You guys love your pot, don't you? Michael McAndrews, in the future, they will look back on this time and puke. Nick Rich says, I've seen this and numerous other reports on the birthday book. Yeah, and now he's trying to deny that that he drew that or signed it. Make up your mind, Trump. Are you going to deny it or not deny it? He keeps going back and forth. And it is disgusting, as Rachel Maddow was saying. It's so disgusting what he and Epstein and and everyone else that was involved, just so vile and disgusting. And this is our president, as my title card suggests. We need to 86-47, 86 the motherfucker. For the good of the country, he needs to be 86th. David Dog, sometimes I feel fully deprecated. I mean, inappreciated. David Weiss is here from Denver, Colorado. Hello, David. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us today. Roxanne79 says, yeah, the birthday card is freaking gross, with the young girl drawing around their elite secrets. Can't swear enough to express myself. Yeah, it's just total, talk about vomit inducing. I mean, it's just, and 77 million Americans voted for this motherfucker the second time. A second time, what is going on here? Damon Dog says, Ben on MTN shared some of the other pages of the birthday book. Looks like they all knew he was a pervy rapist. Hey, Walter McCaravich is here. Hey, Walter, good to see you. Walter says, good morning, Trucker John. As your introduction stated, no time in American history have we seen a sickness like this with an American president. Very, very sad. I'm trying to think. I mean, I'm sure we've had presidents. I mean, I guess Andrew Jackson wasn't so great, but certainly, we could delve into the lives of presidents. But I think Donald Trump definitely is our worst president in history. But we could go back all the way to the slavery days and presidents that owned slaves and who reportedly or purportedly had sired children from these slave women. That's pretty rapey. I'm looking at you, Thomas Jefferson. I still think Trump is worse. I mean, how do you, Trump is just vile human being. It has really no business being in the White House, none whatsoever. AM says, waiting for articles of impeachment against Donald Trump to be filed. Well, please do not hold your breath. I think that there have been some Democrats in this term that I think have issued them. They're not going to go anywhere. They don't have the numbers in Congress. It's not going to go anywhere until we get the Congress back. And even then, to remove, you need like a supermajority in the Senate or something to remove. But I mean, if they file them, it would be, you know, for the principle of it, which I think is a good thing. So yeah, I mean, I agree. AM articles of impeachment. Maybe they should just start filing them every single day, and a different member of the House, just every day. It's not going to go anywhere, but yeah, as a symbolic act, you know. Michael McAndrew says, I used to go skiing in Vail and Aspen and other places. I always loved Colorado. We used to go to the Rocky Mountains almost every year when I was young. Yeah, it's beautiful up there. Yeah, VD Hertz says, AM, it won't happen until after midterms, not a chance. But like I was just saying, you know, maybe they should just keep filing them anyway. Anyhow, I mean, I don't know the exact procedures of it, you know, if they can do it or not do it. But as a symbolic act of resistance and as a constant reminder that at least the Democrats aren't on board with it, with what Trump is doing and what Trump has done, you know, maybe they should just keep filing him. Big Hook, the Big Canuck is here. Hey, Big Hook, good to see you. Big Hook says, wear a mask with sunglasses, carry a digital camera to record ice and not your phone. Carry a bright flashlight to blind ICE agents. Camera for Palantir database and retaliation. Carry an air horn to warn. Have a little kit, a little ice detection kit or whatever. Hey, there's Jolie. Jolie's here. Good to see you. You probably were here earlier. I just, you know, I wasn't able to start from the beginning of the chat. But thanks, Jolie, for being here. Appreciate you. Belfast Bob says you need those laws changed. Where blue states, or where blue states are taxes are used by the red states until they realize how their states are funded. Changing laws is pretty difficult, especially when you don't have the majority. But I have heard people, you know, of course, this conversation has been going on for a while about blue states withholding their taxes, you know, and sending them to Washington D.C. If that's a thing, if they can do that, I know they're thinking about it. I think Gavin Newsom has talked about it, probably Pritzker too. It certainly is something that's been talked about. Whether or not they can actually do it or will actually do it, I don't know. I don't know. Big Hook says have community neighborhood meetings and get to know everyone's face so that you can spot plainclothes ICE in your neighborhood and photograph and dox them and share with other neighborhoods. Fight it. And I do think the doxing part's important because I think at some point we will have Congress back, and I think in 2028 we better get the White House back. And eventually, I think there's going to be some prosecutions going on. And I think that some of these ICE agents are going to end up in court and hopefully in prison for their illegal, you know, kidnapping people. Hey, Josh is here. Good to see Josh. Says, hey, loungers listening, got to run through the shower. Alrighty, well, let's have a big shower. Michael McAndrews, get that Trumpy name crap off everything. Big Hook, I got to sleep soon before work this afternoon. Keep up the good fight, all you guys and gals. We outnumber these fascist fucks. Don't let your rights and freedoms go without a fight. Thank you, Big Hook. Thanks for checking in and hanging out with us for a little bit. Get some sleep. You got work today, work later on, so yeah, get some rest. Thanks for caring. You know, caring enough to I've heard you call into Liberal Dan, and we hear the passion in your voice and the concern, and I think a lot of us can relate to that because I think we are all concerned and we're upset and angry about what's going on. And so thanks Big Hook for kind of being a voice for us in that. Roxanne 79 says ICE should raid Trump Tower. Maybe Chicago should check Trump Tower to see how many undocumented employees he recruited. Yeah, it's been widely reported, even going back to his first term. That Mar-a-Lago and all of his properties, they were hiring undocumented workers all the time. Yeah, the double standards are never end. It's a never-ending double standards with these guys. VD Hertz says, with no ID at all, no badge number, the city state police should arrest ICE. What kind of? I agree, but think of the showdown. Maybe Pritzker or the mayor of Chicago or whatever could instruct their law enforcement. If you see this going on, you see some dudes in masks with no ID, no badge numbers, swooping up people. You need to go in and interact with that. That would be interesting to see, for one thing. Roxanne 79 says, let's fucking go. It's time for sugar. So I think I'm reading the chat when I hadn't even come on yet. I guess the intro is still playing. Because here's the thing about Mel Gibson. Roxanne 79 says, Mel Gibson is a pedo too. If you associate with Dinky, I assume you're a pedo. And yeah, that woman, and that must have been what Gino Maynard said, actual bravery. And that, talking about the woman who that was with the DOJ, who would not bend the knee. Very brave and a very great example of how to stand up to this tyranny. VD Hertz says, I have no respect for all the new actors joining Sylvester Stallone in the new season of King of Tulsa. Yeah, I'm not even going to watch it. I watched the first 2 seasons. I was kind of looking forward when the last season ended because they kind of ended on a cliffhanger, and I was just like, oh, now what's going on here now, but then between then and now, Stallone has been kissing up to Trump, going to Mar-a-Lago, and all this kind of shit, and coming out and in favor of these Trump policies, and so I'm just like, fuck you, Stallone, fuck you. I'm not going to watch your stupid show. I mean, I was always a fan of Rocky and Rambo and a lot of other movies that he's done. And I always thought, Stallone it seems like he always had a message, especially in the Rambo movies, where there was always some sort of underlying message, even though the movies really kind of glorified violence. They're very violent and bloody and gory, especially some of the later ones, the Rambo movies. But he always seemed to have this sort of. There was always that little kind of rant in the movie where it was about how war is awful and and whatever. So I always thought he had sort of a liberal leaning to him, although he could come off as right wing too. But it was kind of ambiguous, I guess. At least I felt with Stallone. He kind of maybe he was always trying to play kind of both sides of the fence there. But now he's just totally gone total fucking MAGA. So fuck him. Fuck him to hell. Is that even a thing? Hey, the Soulcraft's here. Hey, Soulcraft, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Soulcraft says, just watch Mary Trump and John Sesko's Trek Politics. Good stuff. See, this is what the Soulcraft makes me do. Whenever I see the Soulcraft, it just makes me want to like sway back and forth for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why. See the effect you have on me, Soulcraft? Making me get all, loosey-goosey in my shoulders, swaying back from side to side. The Lucky Minute says, wait till he shuts down the social media apps. If he does do that, talk about waking a sleeping giant. You might not want to poke that bear. I don't know. I mean, talk about if there's one thing you want to like wake up from, I guess, millennials onward, that would be it. Oh, there would be. Then you would see millions of people in the streets. It's never been on social media. Don't care. You're on social media right now. I consider YouTube social media. So, don't you? I think this is social media. Gina Maynard says Donald brokered a ceasefire between Papa Smurf and Gargamel. The forest rejoices. Yeah, I did that. Yeah. I can see him taking credit for that. MJ Daniels says DJT teabagged the head of the KGB on U.S. soil in front of the world like the weak, senile old bigot and coward that he is. VD Hertz, Exxon wants back in Russia, and that's what we found out from what really came out of the Alaska meeting was their talk that they had between Putin, or at least the Putin double, was that they were going to have, Trump would allow, I guess, talks, I guess, in relaxing some of the what is it called, embargo or whatever it is, sanctions or something. So Exxon can get back in there, and it's a big giant, of course, big giant deal. Yeah, there's MJ Daniel. Good morning from the free state of Washington. Yeah, AM says, agreed, VD. I was I was disappointed with Sylvester Stallone's alliance with the traitor. I enjoyed the previous season of King of Tulsa, but I can't in good conscience watch it. Yeah, I'm done. I'm not going to watch season 3. I hope the ratings are just tank and the show just dies at this point. Belfast Bob, I want a pair of those Gavin Newsom gold sneakers. Look at the stitching, the nice stitching. Did I skip Aaron? There's Aaron West with the thumbs up. That must have been when I first came on. So that's how far behind I am, guys. And thank you, Aaron, for being here. I believe we're at full mod capacity. Suzanne Forsepi says it's 77 degrees in Galveston, Texas. It's beautiful. Aaron West says it's 72 in Central North Carolina. All right. Yeah, we're getting into, I think, a lot of places around the country, when we start getting into fall. Fall is usually, I think, usually pretty nice for everybody. Maybe, I don't know. We start getting cooler temperatures, but we're not in the icy cold winter. So yeah, fall. Of course, I think fall and spring are probably the really nice seasons, right? Not that I don't like some winter weather, and not that I don't like some warm summer, but I don't like 2 months of 112 or 15 degrees. That can get a little old. I'm not going to debate whether or not YouTube is social media or not. I think that's a waste of our time to get into that. So I'm going to skip that. Kevin's here. 007 Slayer's here. Hey, 007 Kevin. Thanks for coming on in. I do appreciate you. The lucky minute. Yeah, continuing that. You guys can have that conversation. I'm just going to skip over it. But that's okay if you guys want to talk about it amongst yourselves. Suzanne Forsepi, I'm riding my bike. That sounds nice. I don't know where these rules that VD is citing come from, as far as what constitutes social media. James Jaramillo says it stands for about, goddamn time, Sir TJ. Goddamn time? Oh. I thought it had something to do, you were talking about something about Trump or something. Christina Weibel's here. Hey, Christina, good to see you. Thanks for jumping on in to the old driver's lounge. I do appreciate you. Dan B from the Tampa Bay area, the Dolphin fan. Poor Dolphins, off to a bad start. Do they still have that one coach, the head coach? The sort of yuppie or head coach? Did they fire his ass yet? Because they're not looking too good. They're not looking very good after one game, but just one game. Last night, the Vikings pulled one off over the Bears. The Bears. Over the Bears. The Bears. Christina, why will I love my pot too? Good, that's fine. That's fine. Dan B, they didn't have digital signature back then. He's totally delusional. David Dog says, I love it, John. Not just effects, but it's the most interesting and fun plant to grow. Oh, that's good to have hobbies. It's good you have hobbies. Roxanne79 says, TJ, you have cannabis experts all around you in this chat. Pure brilliance. You guys should send me some. Is that legal to send pot? Yeah, AM says, oh, wow, VD Hertz, I respected the fact that he wrote Rocky and how successful it became. Yeah, it was a pretty good success story, sort of an unknown actor or a very unknown actor. Really hadn't done anything other than, I think the biggest thing he had done, I think, that I can remember before Rocky was Lords of Flatbush. Wasn't he one of the Lords of Flatbush guys? Remember, it had Henry Winkler, I think, right? And I think Stallone was one of them. And then the other two dudes, who all had fairly well careers, and I can't remember their names. I think one was Steven something. I can't remember their names, but anyhow, I believe that was. I think Stallone was in Lords of Flatbush, but maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, let me know. I'm sure you guys will let me know. Maybe I'm just thinking I'm thinking of Winkler, Henry Winkler, because I remember seeing Winkler in Lords of Flatbush, and then all of a sudden he shows up on Happy Days. And even though the characters are completely different, because in Lords of Flatbush he was like the little guy. He was like the littlest guy of them, and was kind of, I don't want to say wimpy, but he wasn't he wasn't like the big lead or the big, tough guy in Lords of Flatbush. But he wore the black leather jacket, and then I saw him in Happy Days, and so he looked just like the same character, even though they weren't. And of course, the Fonz is the Fonz, and he's like, hey, and it's a comedy, right? But so maybe I'm just thinking of that. But I think Stallone was in Lords of Flatbush. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. So, but I guess my point is, I think that he hadn't. Other than that, I don't think I had seen him in anything. And I might not even have seen him in that if he wasn't in it. And then all of a sudden, Rocky comes out, and we find out, that he wrote the script, and it's like, whoa! And he gets an Oscar, I think, for screenplay, right? Amongst other things, I guess. Did it win Best Picture? Did it get Best Picture that year? I'm pretty sure he won at least an Oscar for writing for a screenplay, original screenplay. So that was a huge success story, and he's, and then he became an icon. And I think he's going to really regret cozying up to Trump, because it's going to tarnish. It's already, as far as I'm concerned, it's tarnished his legacy. Roxanne says, Jen said he didn't want to get yelled at again by TJ for chatting. You guys need to make up. I didn't yell at him. You can go watch yesterday's show. I never yelled at him. And then even going back to the show a few days ago, I believe it was September 5th. The reason I know that is because I did go back and I watched the show, and only because Kim Chi had been making such a big, she's the one that stepped in and made a big deal out of it and said that that she stands up for people and that she's a fighter and that, you know, she doesn't like it when people snap at people and I shouldn't have snapped at Jen. And then, so I went and rewatched the show to see what the fuck she was talking about. And all I got to say is I am completely 100% in the right. I did not snap or yell at anyone unless my tone right now that you're hearing, unless that to you is yelling, then I guess that. But if this is yelling to you, then I feel sorry for you if you think this is yelling. But go back. You can watch yesterday's show. You can watch this. I think it was September 5th. It's all bullshit. I didn't yell at anyone. I didn't snap at anyone. Certainly not at Jen. If his little feelings are hurt, I'm sorry that his feelings are hurt, but I'm not sorry for anything that I've done or said because I didn't do anything wrong. I did not snap. I did not yell. And it's all a bunch of bullshit. So that's all I got to say about that. Go back and watch the fucking show. It's all there for the whole world to see. Gino Maynard says clearly the same agents that put Obama's birth in those Hawaiian newspapers in August 1961 put Donnie's card in Epstein's birthday book. Maybe I shouldn't have taken the red pill, the red and blue pill. Dan B says 70 votes in the Senate. Don't know if we will ever get that for impeachment. I thought it was 67 votes. Can we get verification or confirmation on that? I thought it would be 67 votes. Roxanne79 says, I have a wrench and a few channels, but I don't know how to use it. Laughing out loud. I just appear to have power. An illusion. BD Hertz, I choose to be happy, and I know what makes me happy. Well, that's good. That's good. BD Hertz says, 007 Kevin, I'm not a troll. I used to be Kiki Streets till Stuttering John spoofed my phone number. Wow. I remember you, Kinky Streets. You used to come in here as Kinky Streets. We had a few little dust-ups, I guess. You know. I remember that. I'm glad you're back, though. I am glad you're back. MJ Daniel says, just read it was a Republican candidate for Congress in Georgia that called ICE on that plant. She has cost them hundreds of good jobs and a multi-billion-dollar investment. Well-deserved karma for them. And as Hal Sparks was talking about, I think yesterday, on yesterday's show, one of his shows, because when I first heard that story, you know, I just saw a couple of news videos of news, you know, that was on YouTube that popped up. They were from the area there, and they talked about the ICE raid and how they scooped up, I think, 475 undocumented workers, but they never did go into any more detail than that. So my first question was, why is Hyundai hiring undocumented workers? You know, shouldn't they be hiring, you know, local people from there that live there? That's the whole idea of bringing these these factories is for that, right? But then Hal Sparks, if I recall, and you guys can refresh my memory in the chat, exactly the details of it. But you know, Hal Sparks explained that these folks were brought in from, I guess, South Korea or whatever. Hyundai, I think, is South Korean, right? to start up. Because they have expertise. And that they were given these sort of provisional work visas. I think, if I'm remembering what Hal said, because sometimes I'm doing other stuff, and Hal's kind of playing on the background, so I might not be getting it all right. But apparently, Hyundai didn't do anything illegal. I mean, or they brought in workers on a temporary basis to help start up this new plant. And then they were going to be here for a certain amount of time, and then they were going to go home, and then they would be replaced with local hires, right? That was the agreement. That was the deal. And then apparently Trump or his department, immigration department, whatever, they canceled all those work visas, just pulled the rug right from under them, just so they could go in. Well, and then, apparently this was a Republican congressperson there who called ICE, and then, so it's all horseshit. It's all bullshit what Republicans are doing. It makes no sense, actually. They kind of don't know what each other's doing, I guess. But and it does make sense to me as far as like bringing in experts or people who have this, knowledge of the plant, of how, and when they're building a new plant. Because my dad did the same thing, but kind of in reverse. My dad worked at Kaiser Cement, and then later it became Mitsubishi. So this is when it became Mitsubishi. But he worked at that same facility. It was a cement plant, and he worked at that same facility for over 50 years. And so he had a lot, and he started from basic laborer, which was basically, here's a shovel, go start digging. Here, go reline this kiln. Kilns would always need to be relined. They would, because they could only take so many where they're firing up the kilns, and then they got to reline them with bricks. I mean, that's where my dad started, and then he got into maintenance, and he was a maintenance guy there, and then so he did all the HVAC, he did all that shit, and then he got into management, and he managed the place. He was one of the managers of this really big facility, Kaiser Cement, and then it was Mitsubishi, and then they were building a new plant in Hong Kong, I believe it was Hong Kong. And I remember they sent my dad to Hong Kong to facilitate this starting up this new plant there. So he was one of the ones they brought in. They brought in a handful of Americans, because this is where the plants had been, and it was basically, well, the one he worked at certainly was in America. I don't know how many other plants they had across the country, but maybe this was the only one. I don't know. But they sent him to Hong Kong, and he lived there for like months to help with the startup of this new cement plant. So that makes sense to me as far as like this. They're opening this new car plant in was it Georgia, and they brought in people from Korea who had been working at their plant for for years and years and years. Probably they were experts in it, and so they brought them to start this up. That makes sense to me. But at first I was like, why are they hiring undocumented? And the stupid news story that I saw that didn't explain that. I can hear TV. I have the volume on 1. Hopefully you guys aren't hearing it. Roxanne 79, we'll see if Jen shows up later. He's at PT now. I hope so. Is that physical therapy? 007 Control Slayer says, VD Hertz, the definition of a troll is blocking someone. Wait, The definition of a troll is blocking someone, not giving a reason. Then when asked politely to do something nice, they tell them to shove it. I've never heard that definition before. I thought a troll was just someone who says, like, well, I mean, there's probably more than one definition, but someone who comes into a chat room and is just contrarian to everything, is a contrarian, or just drops, bombs in there that they know is going to trigger people or upset people. That's sort of my definition of a troll. I don't know. All right, I'm going to skip down because I know I'm like a half hour behind. I'm not going to really read ones where people are talking about other shows. I don't think I need to promote other shows other than the Liberal Dan show, which was on last night. Liberal Dan will be on again tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Central Time. Best show on the internet. And I do talk about Hal Sparks a lot. Other than that, I do talk about Boston Brian too. Okay, I do talk about other shows. Okay, I confess, I do. Just depends on I guess, the context. And I am sort of cherry picking, or I am kind of needle dropping on some of the in the chat here, because I get kind of, I see the clock, or I see that I'm getting really far behind, and then I feel like I need to sort of catch up a little bit. So I kind of needle drop, and then so I'm kind of reading it because ahead of time, just to see how mid-thread something is. And if it's too mid-thread, then I don't want to read it, because, it's like I'm in the middle of a thread of a conversation. And then it's like reading it could sound weird because it's out of context. And so that's kind of why I've got a lot of kind of dead air going on right now. Or not right now, but, because I'm kind of reading, and I'm thinking, should I read this thing? It's kind of mid-thread. It's kind of a mid-thread thing. So, that's what happens when you skip and needle drop. In case anyone was wondering my sort of process here. Belfast Bob says, do ICE have more powers than your ordinary police forces in America? They do if the president is backing them, I guess. They're supposed to have, each thing has its own jurisdiction. And that's why I think it's always been, we've had ICE for forever, or for a long time, and we've had immigration. There have been immigration raids for decades. I mean, we've seen it depicted in movies and TV shows. We've seen it before, I guess. And that's when we've how many times have we seen a movie where, it's kind of a joke, but where the workers, the undocumented workers, are working in a factory or wherever, a farm, and all of a sudden they're yelling "Immigration, immigration, immigration," and everyone's like running away. So I mean, that's been a long running kind of a gag in a way. When we're talking about movies or TV shows, it's kind of, I guess you would call it a gag, because it's something that's been repeated. So we've had, that just shows, we've had immigration for a long, long time, and raids have been conducted. But my understanding is that those were done with warrants. They had to go before a judge and present evidence of or why they felt that there was a lot of undocumented workers at a certain place, and that they needed to scoop them up or whatever, and apprehend them. There was a procedure, there was due process. And I think the main concern now is that we're seeing really no due process, and really just these so-called ICE agents. And I think we have two different kinds of ICE agents. I think we have the ICE agents that have been here, let's say previous to this administration, they've gone through the training. They had requirements. A lot of those agents have to have I think college degrees and shit like that, and maybe like in criminal justice, or they had to have or the equivalent, and they had to go through training, and they were and they were following procedures. These new ones that have been hired on since Trump came in. It's a whole new batch. These are like I've said before. I think a lot of these are Jan 6ers, or they're part of white nationalist groups and all that kind of stuff, and they're not getting the training. They're sort of just being thrown out there and given the authority to just grab anyone that they think might be here illegally based on their skin color, if they live in maybe a poor neighborhood, or work at what's perceived as a low income job, or if they're waiting at a place to try to get work, like at a Home Depot. And the Supreme Court just came through and said that they can do that. That was one of the things, I think, in the intro. So they've been given recently, just with this latest administration, a lot of power that they didn't really have before. They had a jurisdiction, they had procedure, they had due process that they had to follow, and that I think they were following for the most part. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but certainly this new era of ICE under Trump, they have been given they've been ICE, Immigration Customs and Enforcement, has been made the biggest budgeted item in government now. So that is where our president's priority is. So I don't know if I helped to explain anything, or if I made it worse. Susan Forsepi is here. Sandy Foltz is here. Hey, Sandy, good to see you. Thanks for coming on in. Sandy says, I'm at the eye doctor getting new reading glasses. Hope that goes well for you. Nick Rich, 10 o'clock, so I'm 34 minutes behind. Dan B says, it's all hypocrisy from the Republicans. Shits and Pants has hired illegals all his effing life. But now, we need to get rid of them all, while I agree he has them at every golf club he owns. Yeah, it's total hypocrisy, total double standard. And the only reason he's doing this is because there are lots of low information voters that vote for him, and all they will see or hear about is how ICE is scooping up illegals, and how ICE has been given all of this priority, and they think it's great. They think that he's making America safe. We're finally safe from these horrible illegals. And that's what he's catering to, that part of the base. Jolie has dropped a link to Mr. Spock on YouTube. Mr. Spock has a great channel there. I was watching him the other day, and him and his chickens, and I was having a good time. So if you want to have a good time, go ahead and watch Mr. Spock over there. Mr. Spock seems like a really nice guy. Much nicer than me. Mr. Spock does not snap or yell at people, as I have been accused of. Dan B says, I was going to watch Tulsa and no more. I'm finished with Stallone. He has 3 daughters and beautiful wife, but hails to this evil piece of shit. And one of his daughters actually had a part in the Tulsa King. She's I think she was the young blonde young woman who was working on the ranch, one of the doing the like working with the horses. I think that was his daughter, one of his daughters. Christina, why will Sylvester Stallone can F off? DPD 5844 is here. Hey, DPD, good to see you. Says, did anyone see Epstein's disgusting birthday book? Yeah, we were talking about that earlier, about the sketch and everything. There are drawings of Epstein giving balloons to little girls, and there's a drawing of him laying down, and young girls are massaging his genitals. Well, I didn't see that. And I didn't need to just read that. I didn't need that image in my head. But no, I did not see that. But just more disgust. And the only thing I really saw was, they were showing that little birthday sketch thing that Trump did, and Trump is denying that he did that, when everyone in the world knows that he did it, and he's sitting there denying it. Chris Doug's here. Hey, Chris Doug, good to see you. Thanks for coming on in. I do appreciate you. Chris Doug's driving, so be careful. Be careful there. Roxanne, Stevie Wonder Sway. Oh, yeah. See, this is how far behind I am in the chat. I was doing this sort of Stevie Wonder Sway, and that seems like it was hours ago that I was talking about that. That's how far behind I am in the chat. But it does feel kind of good on my neck if I just sort of let my head kind of do this, kind of bending around like that. It does kind of feel good on my old sore neck. Suzanne Forsepi, I'm always respectful and polite to everyone. I just don't understand why people are blocking me. I don't know who's blocking you or whatever, but I wouldn't worry about it. Don't worry about it. If someone blocks you, they block you. Big deal. Just go on with your life. If someone blocks me, I don't give a fuck. It's no skin off my nose if someone blocks me. VD Hertz, TikTok still owned 100% by China. China. And I am not on TikTok. I did have an account. I went ahead and deleted my account, I think, over a year ago. A year and a half ago, maybe. I don't know. It's been a while. I went ahead and got rid of it. Hey, William's here. Hey, William, good to see you. Thanks for coming on into the driver's lounge. William says Samuel Jackson is going to be in season 3 of Tulsa King. He's very liberal. Well, Sam, they probably filmed this. That's the thing about it. I'm sure if it's almost coming out already, they probably filmed this season. Who knows? Even before the election. So I guess I'll cut Sam some slack. I'll cut him some slack. So Cross says, if they're blocking you, Suze, it's probably them, not you. Yeah, don't worry. Don't even worry about it. I don't know why you would worry if someone blocked you. If they block you, they block you. Big deal. Who cares? Suzanne, do you guys want me to leave the chat room? Why would we want you to leave the chat room, Suzanne? Why? Why would we want you? No one wants you to leave the chat room. I'm just saying, if someone blocks you, then who cares? I don't care. If someone blocks me, I don't give a fuck. It's no skin off my nose. Anyhow, video here. Sorry, I have a narrow definition of social media. It's only where reality and visuals is shared. I only share my political beliefs here. Okay, you're entitled to your opinion. Here I am swaying side to side again. I'm skipping down a little bit. I know I'm so far behind. I must have skipped so much. I didn't know there was all this sort of drama going on with Suzanne and everything. But Suzanne, just if someone blocks you, don't worry about it. Just come in here and hang out. Yeah, Christina Weibel says you are being fine. You are being nice, Suzanne. I've been watching. You're fine. Yeah, Suzanne, you're fine. You're fine. Gino Maynard says Trump is salivating for a major armed incident from the left. Then he would declare martial law and restrict social media and free speech. I think he wants this. Yeah, don't take the bait. Let's not take the bait. I'm all for peaceful protesting. I'm all for marching. But you're right, Gino. Trump would love nothing more than some sort of armed conflict, and then he could just unleash, his military, and there would probably be there would probably be a lot of military that would go along with it. So, Mr. Buck, is that TJ's new shoes behind him? Those are Gavin Newsom's golden sneakers. Hey, WW is here. Hey, W, good to see you. W says Susie is a fixture. I used to block her, but Connie Kelly gave me hell. Laughing out loud, Susie is part of the old guard. There goes WW, always complaining about me blocking him or whatever, and then now we found out that he's blocking people. What a hypocrite, WW. WW, you're a hypocrite. But we all are, I guess, to some extent. Roxanne79, this show is only as cool as its chatters. We are content, and TJ is our voice. Well, you guys are in trouble. You guys are in big trouble. Christine Weibel's going on a smoke break. Soulcraft says social media is a mirror of sorts. Damon Dog, drama. Mr. Spot, bong rips for Benny Loco alerts. I don't know. Why are we bong ripping for Benny Loco? Whenever I see that, I'm like, did Benny Loco die or something? Why are we doing bong rips for Benny Loco? But I'm kind of mid-thread. I think I may have missed, maybe I missed something. I don't know. Suzanne says some people are full of piss and vinegar. Laughing out loud. Belfast Bob, you trip and fall. It's autumn. It's autumn. I guess WW and VD are getting into a little. Now I'm a half hour behind. I don't know where that is going to be heading. VD Hertz, I enjoy Block W. Did so again. Okay, there you go. Roxanne, wait, what? Kind of jumped on me there. John Glad, late here now. Hey, John Glad to see you. And like my dad used to always say, better late than never. VD Hertz says I keep my blocking to those making up lies about Ukraine, like WW does. Soulcraft says it's 76 degrees. About as nice as it gets. Disc golf later. You know what? I don't think I've ever played disc golf, and sometimes I would in my truck driving days. Believe it or not, sometimes I would drive past a disc, golf course, I guess you call it, or a disc course, and I always thought that looks like it'd be fun. That looks like it'd be cool, and I've never played disc golf or disc. Is it called golf? I've never played it. But I've always thought it looks like it would be fun. Dan B says, yes, unfortunately, he still is the coach. I would have fired him yesterday. The team wasn't prepared at all, and that is about 7 games in a row going back to last year. He's a total moron. Yeah, and remember, he was kind of the darling at first because he won some games, and early on, it seemed like they're like, and he's like this like nerdy little computer guy or whatever. Not that there's anything wrong with nerdy little computer guys. Don't take it the wrong way. But I'm saying, he wasn't your sort of stereotypical football coach, and he was winning some games. So people were like, "Is this the wave of the future?" It's almost like Billy Bean in the Billy Ball or the Money Ball in baseball. It's kind of like it kind of reminds me of that. Is this the new way of coaching and all this? And now the guy has been really pretty crappy going into last season, like Dan B says. I'm surprised I've seen coaches fired for less. I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm surprised he's still around, but it's still early in the week, so maybe who knows? Who knows? Roxanne79 says, I feel like we are about to watch boxing match, WW and VD. Well, I think VD said he blocked WW, so I don't know. Unless I miswrote. Oh yeah, VD says nope, he's blocked. James Jaramillo says, Mr. Spock, that's what I'm getting away from right now, even though I didn't drink, but a 25-ounce can of Foster's and a couple of shooters to sleep. Just don't want to do it anymore. I like Foster's. I haven't had a Foster's, though, in years. I remember I used to buy those, the big blue can. Now I feel like buying me a Foster's. Have it on hand. Danby says, no, TJ, Sly was in the Lords of Flatbush. That's what I said. That's what I was saying. I did. That's what that was what I was saying. Danby says Paul Mace was also in Lords of Flatbush. 007 Kevin, I remember Stallone from Avalanche. But wasn't that after his fame? I'm talking about before. Was that before Rocky? I'm talking about before or after Rocky. Was he in Avalanche? I don't even remember that movie. So. Yeah, Danby says Perry King and Martin Davidson was in it as well. Good actors. I remember Perry King. I don't remember Martin Davidson. I just remember the guys. I guess their little gang. They were kind of like a gang, I guess. And they would wear the black leather jackets, like the motorcycle jackets. I thought there was only 4 of them. Maybe there was more. I thought it was Henry Winkler, and I thought it was Stallone. I remember now that you mention Perry King, and then the other one I'm remembering, I think it was Stephen or like Stephen something. He's done a lot of stuff since then. Of course, the 2 biggest stars that come out of that would be, of course, Stallone, who's, like him or not, he is like this. He's become kind of iconic and is really, huge. And then Winkler, I think, is really huge too, but more for TV, for the Fonz, Happy Days. But and he had a bit of a movie career too. But the biggest one was Stallone. the biggest career, right? The biggest, because he's on a really global. His movies, Rambo, especially the Rambo movies, I think really play well in all over the world. So he's probably known internationally more than Henry Winkler, who probably isn't, even though he was a really big star here in America for Happy Days in the 70s. And of course, but yeah, I don't want to go off on a tangent like that. But Jolie says, got to go, Aaron. My plane is about to land. Oh, you're on a plane. Thanks, John. Have a great. I didn't even know. Wait, got to go, Aaron. My plane is about to land. And I'm so far behind in the chat. You've probably already landed and deboarded and got your luggage and are on your way to wherever you're going. I got to keep in contact with you more, Jolie. I didn't even know what you're doing. I hope you're having a good trip and a good time on your trip. Bonnie Thompson's here, says, kids, be careful. In the 80s, I sold a bag of pot to a stranger in a bar. Then I was paranoid for the next 2 hours. It was a cop. Lul, so dumb. Or laughing out loud, so dumb. I guess that's a lot of out louds. The Soul Crab says, I dropped an ounce at Burger King right at the counter as I pulled out the cash. Oops. Josh says TJ is correct, 2/3. Yeah, so that would be about 67, I think. I was talking earlier, for those of you that might not have been here, we were talking about how many votes in the Senate it would take to remove Trump if he were impeached. Someone said 70, and I thought it was 67, and Josh is backing me up, I guess. Vita Hertz says $50 an ounce now, legal too. Debbie says, you're right, TJ, 67. My bad, I always round up. And it's nothing wrong with rounding up in certain situations, but when it would come to this, when we need, that exact number, well, I guess it would be good to kind of overshoot. You're going, okay, we need 70, and that way, it probably is always good to kind of, try for a little bit more than you actually need, and then you'll hopefully get what you do need. So, Nick Rich, 20 past the hour. I think I'm 34 minutes behind. Roxanne79 says, I think you both feel that way, TJ. Jen is sarcastic, and it does razzle you at times. It's a Giants-Dodger thing at the root of it, in my opinion. Natural tension. I'm hoping he was just being sarcastic. He probably was. He's doing his physical therapy, so he can't bother himself with being here. I guess that's more important. I didn't even know he was doing physical therapy, actually. WW says, member for 14 months. Thank you, WW. Yippee. I always give the members a yippee. 14 months. Thank you, WW. All criticisms aside, I do appreciate you being here. And the little message here says 67 dim seats in the Senate is an impossibility. I don't think it's impossible. Why would you say it's an impossibility? It's not like we haven't had it before in history. It's not like it's never been done. With people who are, negative Nellies like you, then I guess it would be impossible. Roxanne79 said, Hal said all the details of the visas. See, that's how far behind. We're talking about the Hyundai plant. I'm just now getting to the chat where we're talking about the Hyundai plant thing. WW, I get in trouble when I tell my philosophy regarding the pixels on the screen. Yeah, because it makes no fucking sense. WW, it sounds like the rantings of a madman. That's why. DPD 5844 says the Seoul Korea workers had the correct documentation and they still fucked up. And by they, I think you mean ICE, right? Or whoever, right? Bonnie Thompson, I have a confession. ... So I'll be looking forward to that later on in the chat. Lynn's here. Hey, Lynn, good to see you. I think Lynn might have been in it earlier. Says the tyrant made South Korea pay them in order to get those workers home and not shipped off to another country. Like the show card says, 8647. He needs to be 86th. WW says my dad did that at a foundry. He worked there when he was on vacation. Better money than being a preacher. Oh, so like when he was on vacation from preaching, he would work in the foundry. That's nothing like what I was talking about with my dad. I don't believe that was anything. My dad was sent to Hong Kong to help with the startup of a brand new cement plant and getting it online, bringing it online. I don't think that had, so I don't see, if you were comparing it to my dad, because you said my dad did that, I don't see how that's anything at all the same. Just saying. Susan Ferrasipi says, I need to charge my phone. Everyone have a great day. You too, Suzanne. Thanks for being here. I hope everything went well. You're gone I'm sure you're probably gone by now, but just thanks for being here. And I hope that you'll come back and hang out with us again sometime. VD Hertz says, Lynn, no nation, company, university should ever cave to Trump. He will only come back for more. Yeah, I agree, VD Hertz. None of this bending of the knee, none of this caving. You know, we got to stand up to him, and that includes you, Harvard, or whatever. You know. The Lucky Minute says, I was an expat as a kid too because of my dad's company. I went everywhere. I wasn't. Just my dad went. This is when See, when did you do that? I was already in my 20s or something, out of the house. But I had my little brother and sister. They were still kids. But my mom and brother and sister, they stayed behind. I mean, they didn't go to. Only my dad went to Hong Kong. They didn't pay for like the whole thing because it was pretty temporary. It wasn't like, I guess if it was going to be something for a year or two or years, then he probably would have had the at least mom and my brother and sister. He would have arranged for them to come over probably, but it was only, I want to say it was like 3 months or something like that. 3 or 4 months, or maybe it was 6 months. I remember it seemed like a long time at the time that he was over there. But I don't think it was definitely not longer than 6 months, I don't think. And it was just him and some other managers from the plant. WW, I worked at a union factory bookbindery in the summers while I was going to college. Better money than teaching back then. Yeah, those union jobs. Thank your union for having good pay, man. VD Hertz says, I agree with your definition of a troll, Trucker John. VD Hertz, that's the second time we've agreed on something, I think, in the last couple days. So you better watch out, or we're going to be like really tight. WW, for once, I agree with John. I have been a long time watcher, but when he gets boring, and then I don't know, you leave, I guess. Oh, then I'll be the troll. Oh, I get it. Oh, okay. Try to spice things up, I guess. If it gets too boring, then WW thinks it's his obligation to spice things up and get this boring show going. Okay, I see what you're doing there. I see. I got you. I got you. WW confession is good for the soul. Gina Maynard, trolls are just Temu villains. Nick Rich says troll bots aren't the same as hate bots. They're the worst of the interwebs. Yeah, I guess there is a distinction, certainly. I mean, because I've been called a troll before when I don't really think I'm trolling. I just am but I'm just stating something that might not be, the majority opinion of the chat, or it might be going against whatever live stream or whatever is going on. Maybe I express something that's a little bit not in agreement with the rest of the group, and I've been accused of being a troll, and I'm like, no, dude, I'm not trolling. I'm just stating my opinion, and it's different than yours, But then I would confess there's probably been some times when I intentionally said something that I knew would be riling up people. So I guess you could say I was a troll, or a little bit. And I don't think a little bit of trolling isn't that bad. But when you get into the hate bot thing, like Nick, was it Nick or somebody brought up, then that's when it gets really bad, and you don't really tolerate like hate speech. Don't want to tolerate hate speech or name calling or really bad stuff. But if someone just has like a kind of a different opinion about something, and then I'm interested to find out, why they think that way, or I'm interested to find out what the other side of an argument is thinking and what their logic is. Those things are good to know, I think, and interesting to know. John Glad says, start levying fines on employers and the problem goes away. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I've always said that. I've been saying that for decades now, that they should go after the owners of the companies that are hiring. If there's a problem with hiring and hiring undocumented people, then the companies should be held accountable for that. I mean, they should have in their files copies of the documentation that says that their workers are documented. That should be just standard operating procedure. And if they don't, if they're not able to show that they did their due diligence, so to speak, then they should be fined and or maybe even imprisoned. WW says it's up to ICE to coordinate with local authorities. They do often use local federal agents. But I think a lot of the stuff we've been seeing lately, they're just driving around and just grabbing people. I think that's the difference between the way it's been done in the past and the way it's being done now. There's a big under Trump. It's with this new batch of hires where they just put out a hiring call, and they've lowered the bar, so to speak, the requirements to where just about anybody can get in it. They used to have an age limit. They've taken off the age limit, and there's just basic requirements now. There's almost, because I think I even checked it out because I was like hearing about, hey, there's an $80,000 or some kind of whatever it was signing bonus and shit. So I was like, hey, let me check that out. And I think I did check it out, and just to see what the requirements were, and they were very lax. But it did seem like you had to. I didn't fill out anything, but I remember what did I see on there where there was some sort of, if I recall, I think there was some kind of a loyalty oath or something involved. I don't know. Maybe someone else can go back in there and look at their I guess it was with, I don't know if the website was under Homeland Security or under just the ICE or whatever. Wherever I found it, you can just Google it and you can find out what the hiring requirements are for the ICE agents. And they do explain. I think there was something about. I don't know if they even mentioned the signing bonuses or not. But a lot of people were thinking that you could, because a lot of people were like, "Hey, I'll do it. I'll get my signing bonus and I'll quit." But they know that, and companies know that because companies do have signing bonuses all the time. I know trucking industry does that a lot, and they don't give you the money right up front. They break it down, and I'm pretty sure that's the way ICE would do it too. You have to be there probably for 6 weeks or 2 months, and then you might get the first installment of it, and then and after that, maybe every couple of months or 2 or 3 months, they'll give another installment of that signing bonus, whatever it was, so that you don't just get your signing bonus and quit. They are onto you on that part of it. Bonnie Thompson says, I'm finally at the point I don't give a crap about who's undocumented. They might be working in the Southwest their ancestors once lived on. Well, I've always just seen this as an issue that was one that the Republicans run on but don't really care about solving. If they did, then they would go after the owners. But most of the owners are Republicans, so they're not going to go after their own kind. And so it's all for show. It's like, see what we're doing? We're making America safe. But they're not ever really doing anything to solve the actual issue. And if they really wanted to, then they would go after the companies and hold them accountable for hiring undocumented people. I believe. Okay, I am skipping down because I know I'm really behind in the chat. So I'm going to skip down and kind of needle drop a little bit here. Soulcraft says, I was blown away at how oblivious he was to issues we discuss daily here. I'm not sure that. See, when I skip down and needle drop, I'm mid-thread and I don't know exactly what we're talking about. WW says, I have friends who are undocumented. Mr. Spock says, money does that at Soulcraft. VD Hertz says, Charles Bronson was cool. His grave is here in Vermont. I liked a lot of Charles Bronson movies. I always liked him as a kid. I thought he was good. I remember I really liked, like, going way back when I was really, like in the 60s. Like, I think he was in The Dirty Dozen. I liked that movie a lot. I think he was in The Great Escape too. Yeah, he was one of the tunnel diggers, I think, in Great Escape. That I remember, and then I remember he did a bunch of the spaghetti westerns, and I thought those were cool. And then, of course, he did the what was the one where he's like the vigilante guy? Death Wish, I think. He did like the Death Wish movies. Those were pretty cool, as I recall. It's been a while since I've watched them. A lot of times I'll just kind of remember movies that I really liked and I thought were really cool. And then if I watch them today, I'm like, it's not so great. Yeah, Soulcraft and Mr. Spock are in a conversation that I'm really mid-thread on, and I don't know. So I'm not going to really read it because I don't, I'm really super mid-thread, and I don't know exactly what's going on. And I probably missed a very good. It looks like it was a very good conversation about a very meaningful thing, and I kind of skipped it. Sorry about that. WW says still have my X Twitter account. It's X. It's not Twitter. But anyhow, X Twitter account. If I hear that something happened over there, I'll check it out. Don't try to tell me where I should or should not go. I don't know unless I've skipped it. I don't know if anyone has told you where or not to go. But I also deactivated my X account. Once I kept it for a while, and then once Elon Musk started doing Nazi salutes and was really, during I think I did this way back, like during the campaign. When I saw really how Elon Musk was just throwing in with Trump and was really becoming, more and more Nazi-like as with each passing day, I was just like, fuck it, I'm done with X. And I had my Twitter account before it became X. I mean, that was one of my first social media things I had ever. I think Facebook was. Well, MySpace was probably the first one that I had, and then that kind of petered out, and then Facebook, and then I was very early in Facebook, and then I think this is back to like 2008 or something like that, and then I got an X account. I mean, then it was a Twitter account. Maybe it's 2010 or something. I don't know. It was a long time ago, and I finally deactivated that like way last year sometime during the campaign because I just saw Elon Musk is becoming really or not becoming. He probably always was, but I had never really seen the horribleness of Elon Musk before. I've been somewhat of a fanboy because I was always into Teslas and I like Tesla, and I thought that he had a good sort of vision on that company and on getting EVs into the forefront and into the mainstream. And then probably, I don't know, a year ago or so, you really saw the true Elon Musk, and I did not like what I saw. And so I'm totally, I've totally divested any interest I have in Tesla and Elon Musk. WW says, agree with John. Once again, it's making me worried. I'm not sure what we agreed on because I skipped down on some stuff here, but it happens. It's maybe a broken clock moment, W. I don't know. Bonnie Thompson, Nepo babies have been around for centuries. VD Hertz says Stallone was always Trump's buddy, sadly. The Soulcraft says he's done shrooms. Oh, God, I think I'm mid-thread on this one. But yeah, if someone did shrooms, he wasn't always this dumb. I told him verbally, you're scaring me, after I had to remind him 3 times in 3 blocks to go to McDonald's. So I'm really mid-thread. I don't know if this is, I guess is maybe a family member or a friend and you're having some problems. I'm sorry to hear about that. And I am mid-thread. I did skip down on it. I guess if someone's having problems with drugs or something, because Josh is saying, Soulcraft, I know a guy kind of like that. I partially blame the benzos. He defends Trump because he has a good golf swing. Really? He has a good golf swing. So that's whether he does or he doesn't, but that's what people are basing their support is on the golf swing. That's pretty ridiculous. Pretty ridiculous. Free Vent 28's here. Hey, Free Vent, good to see you. Is this Suzanne F? Suzanne was here. I think Suzanne may have left because her battery was dying, not because of anything bad. I think she said her battery was dying, and had to go charge it. VD Hertz says Musk is looking for his $1 trillion pay package to be approved while FSD continues to fail at getting better. Yeah, at this point, Elon Musk is just totally addicted to money. You know what I mean? I think it becomes an addiction, just like heroin. And what's the best way to get someone off of heroin? It's by taking away the heroin. And I think when someone becomes addicted to money, you need to take away their money, or at least I'm not saying all of it, but you know, he needs to be taken down a few notches, Elon Musk. And you notice he's been very, very quiet lately because he was on the verge, I think, of being ousted from his company. I think there was very close to some sort of hostile takeover that going on, and Elon Musk has pretty much been silent the last few months, and not out in the limelight like he was, or not showing up at the White House, and trying to keep his company from being taken away from him. That's the way I see it. Anyhow, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm naive, but I think he's got it. I think he did avoid that, and so so saying that he's waiting for his $1 trillion package is probably pay package is not out of the question. WW, I get accused of being MAGA, but I never voted for Trump ever. If you accuse me, you are the one who is wrong. I'm just trying to think if I ever accused W of being MAGA. I may have, but I think more half joking than anything. I've accused W of a lot of things. I'm not sure if I ever accused him of being MAGA or not. Roxanne79 says, yikes, lots of nodding out. Pumps talked about being on them for 10 years. Their book rocked heavy but funny. They told all. I guess you're talking about IHIP, the IHIP girls, ladies, women. I shouldn't have said girls. But Roxanne says, we were praising Benny Loco and we smoked to honor her. All right. That's good to know, because a lot of times, you like toast someone because they just died or something. I don't know. So I'm glad to hear that's not the case. Skipping down a little bit here. WW says Ukraine is not the utopia that VD wishfully desires it to be. I don't think he does. I probably shouldn't have even brought that up, but I don't think that's accurate. I've never heard or seen VD Hertz try to say that Ukraine is a utopia. No one is saying that. I'll let VD speak for himself, though. Bonnie Thompson says, my uncle Earl, my name is Earl, used to get blocked drunk. This one time he got so drunk, he fell out in his front yard and yelled to my aunt in the house, help, I'm falling off. She opened the door and yelled, fall. Okay. Nick Rich, Slava Ukraini. There you go, Nick Rich. Thanks for that. I am always glad to hear the Slava Ukraini yell. I am completely 100% in support of of Ukraine, and I think that Russia is wrong for doing what they're doing. I think Vladimir Putin is a war criminal and should be tried in a international criminal court, and should meet justice for his crimes, held accountable for his crimes. Dan B says, WW, I understand that you vote Republican, but for the next few elections, we need to step back and rethink that if you want to still have a say in anything, democracy is hanging on by a thread. The Soulcraft says you can call it frolf, talking about the disc golf, frisbee golf, but the PDGA is getting bigger by the day. In the decade I've played, the amount of disc makers has quadrupled, courses all over now. It looks like fun. It definitely looks like fun. Okay, I am skipping down a little bit in the chat. Chris Doug says, just stop by local international food bazaar markets. 1 pound organic Guatemalan Antigua. Whole bean now $22.99. Used to be $15.99 a pound. Tariffs are a residual tax on the consumer. We need to get those stickers that say Trump did that and put it next to the prices. Belfast Bob says, crazy golf's great if it's a good course. Other than that, it's just a great place here in Ireland for our annual psilocybin season in a few weeks. Let's fucking go. Yeah. Or something like that. Or yeehaw. Yeehaw. Oh, it must have been yeehaw. There we go. Yeehaw. Soulcraft says, gonna rinse. Haven't showered in a week since day before my dad's service. Listening though. Yeah, get in there and shower up, man. I'm sorry for your dad's passing, but don't let yourself go, man. Reedy Hurt says, I am heading to Quebec to buy tariff-free whole bean coffee. It's a short drive. Well, be sure to tell all the Canadians up there that there are people down here that are very sorry for our sorry-ass president. We don't like him any more than they do. And we're hoping to usurp his power as soon as we can. Hopefully in 2026. Hey, Robert Perez is here. Hey, Robert, good to see you. Thanks for coming on down from San Diego away. Robert says, hey, Johnny, good morning. And don't bother with the Foster's beer since they changed from the metal can to the aluminum can. Oh, Foster's lost their metal in the beer can taste. You know what? I don't think I've had a Foster's since then. Like I said, it's been years since I had one. And I am remembering the big blue metal can. So that's, kind of unfortunate. 007 Kevin there says that Trucker John Avalanche was the movie where him and Janine Triplehorn from Northern Exposure were on K2. I think I remember that movie, and that's definitely after Rocky. This was Stallone when Stallone was famous. Because I think it opens up, I think the movie opens up where he's like hanging by one hand on this like sheer cliff in the Alps or something, I don't know. And he's like got one hand. I think there's no ropes, no what do they call those things? You know, that they found in there. I think he's just like free climbing. And if he falls, it's certain death, you know. I think that's how it opens, if I recall. And but that is definitely post Rocky, but definitely in his heyday, in the prime of his. where he could just make any movie like that and it would make $1 billion, you know. BD Hertz says Aldi 12-ounce bags of whole bean Guatemalan coffee doubled in price. Thanks, Trump. We got to just, every time these prices go up, we just got to thank Trump. You know, make sure everyone knows this is all because of Trump and his stupid ass policies. Christina Weibel says, I still say sunflowers. Mr. Spock will help with those pesky bugs. VD Hertz says chocolate prices are soaring. I almost went into a Jake Bro voice there. Damon Dog says I like all natural cures. Dow Tomatoes Earth, Ladybugs, and neem oil. Defenders. WW, but he likes his bugs, Christina. Oh, okay. Okay, I'm skipping down. Christina says the sunflower plants will attract the bugs away from the weed plants to themselves. The bugs love them. So there you have it. MJ Daniel says, I found some bulletproof coffee for under $6 on the discount shelf the other day. I thought I would give it a try. So have you brewed any yet? Let us know if it's if it was a good buy, a good deal. Because no matter how cheap the coffee is, if it turns out to be crap, then then it doesn't matter. But I think it's kind of hard to screw up coffee. I mean, there are better coffees, no doubt. Some are better than others, or just people have different preferences to the various, light or dark or whatever. But I think it's kind of hard to make one that's just total crap. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong. Here's Bear for Bear Love. Hi, Bear for Bear Love. Good to see you. Haven't seen you for a few days here. Thanks for coming on in. I do appreciate you. Guys, make sure you like, subscribe, and share. You guys are doing good. We're at a good surplus of likes, but if you haven't hit the like button, make sure you do. We're at 66, what I'm seeing. And 66, as you know, is my favorite 2-digit number. But that doesn't mean that we can't get more. So yeah, if you want to hit that like button, do that. You want to hit the share button, share the show out. We are at over 4,000 subscribers. Trying to get to 5,000 is our next little goal. Get the 5,000, 5K. Vita Hertz says, yep, Harvard beat Trump in court while Columbia University caved. Oh, okay. Oh, it was Harvard that beat them. Okay. I was thinking, okay. All right. Okay, replacing fire bricks in a kiln is okay. So that's what you were talking about. Your dad. I thought you were talking about when my dad went to Hong Kong. My dad at that point was no longer relining kilns with bricks. I'm not even sure if they did it that way anymore at that point. My dad was in management, and they were testing all the systems and making sure everything operated correctly. And they were teaching. They were holding classes and teaching, and they had interpreters and shit, and they were teaching them how to run the plant at that point. My dad was way past his kiln relining days at that point. I'm just saying that's where my dad started out. At that, at the basic labor, I remember my dad had pictures of him out there, like when he was young. We moved. That's when we moved. When I was born in the Valley, San Fernando Valley in California, and we moved out to Apple Valley in the desert when I was 3.5. The reason we moved was because that's when my dad got the job out at Kaiser, which was in Lucerne Valley, which was about a half-hour drive from where we lived in Apple Valley. And that's why that was what brought us out to the desert, was the job at Kaiser. At that point, it was Kaiser. And I remember seeing some pictures. There's pictures somewhere around of my dad. But he was a pretty young guy. He was only like his early 20s or something, and out there with the shoveling shit and carrying in the wheelbarrow with full of bags of cement, and stuff. That's where he started out at that as a laborer, worked his way up to pretty high in management and in safety. He did a lot of. He was eventually into the safety program, and he did a lot of. He just did a lot of classes on safety and stuff. At the very, towards the end, like he was a supervisor and a manager, where he would manage shifts and manage the whole plant. And had his own office there and everything. And then after he kind of like semi-retired, and that's when they kept him on as like this sort of like safety consultant, and he would just go in and do safety talks and put together procedures on safety. What to do in emergencies and stuff. Handbooks and stuff on safety. Those were like the last probably 3 years or so, or 3 or 4 years that he was there. And it was sort of like I don't know. I wouldn't say. I don't know if that was considered part-time or what. He was still with the company for those last few years after being there for 50 years. Beth S. Bob says, Bonnie, the madness has spread here. There's growing Make Ireland Great Again movements, no immigrants, and get the ones here out. Fucking raging. We're a nation of immigrants. And I bet you there's a Russia connection there too. They did it with the Brexit. That was all Putin, or maybe not all Putin, but that was heavily Russia influenced misinformation. And I bet you the stuff going on in Ireland right now, Belfast Bob, you're going to find Vladimir Putin's little dinky fingers all in that. Bear Love, not sure it's true. I heard a lot of other countries are now referring to the Republican Party as the American Fascist Party. That sounds pretty apropos. Brooklyn, SJU, aka Trixie LaRue. What, are you kidding me? Where you been? Huh? Where you been? Where you been, Brooklyn? Brooklyn SJU, aka Trixie LaRue, says, hi, Trucker John and truckers. Congratulations on 4K. Thank you. I've been wondering where you been. Where you been? Where you been, girl? Damon Dog, Boston Brian just went live. That was 35 minutes ago. Yeah, I forgot about that. So, if you guys go over there, I hope you said Trucker John Raid or something like that. Really, her troll used way too loosely. Yeah, I think it can be where someone is just legitimately stating something that might not be popular with the room. Doesn't necessarily mean you're a troll. Bear for Bear Love says a troll is someone who refutes anything just to cause dismay or anger. Yeah, well, they're really trying to like trigger people or whatever, I guess you could say. Bonnie Thompson says I'm subbed to a couple dozen channels and I only check in with 2 regularly. I hope I'm one of. I guess maybe I'm one of them because there you are. So thanks for making me one of the 2. I do appreciate you being here. That's for sure. James Jaramillo says Damon Dog heading there as well. See you there. Take care until next time. All right, all you guys, all you traders. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure you're long gone by now. It's been over half an hour probably. Just say hi to Brian for me. Let's see. Brooklyn SCU says bagpipes do have a very melancholy sound. Bonnie Thompson, I'm German, Norwegian, British, and Scottish, so maybe that's why. Oh, I am well over 2 hours. Huh? I have gone over. I do lose track of time when I'm chatting with you guys. Bitty Hertz, I don't like how the new Model Y looks. I've seen them. And I think actually I got a ride in one on Uber a couple weeks ago. I kind of liked it. As far as like the updates inside, it seemed like they made some good updates to it or something. But if I get an EV, it's gonna be. It's not. I'm not gonna get a Tesla. And I know. I think we've had talks about this before. I've also gotten rides in Uber with the Mustang Mach-E, which I think is really nice. I think the Mach-E is nice. And even the little Chevy Bolts is nice. And I guess they're going to be coming out with a refresh on that, on the Chevy Bolt. I was driving the Chevy Bolt, like the 2023s, I guess, or 2024. And I thought those were really nice for being a little car. And I was also driving the little, what was the one I was driving with the Voy cars? Those were, what the hell were those? Were those Nissans? Not, oh yeah, not the Leaf. It wasn't a Leaf. So it wasn't Nissan. It was it Hyundai? No, I don't. God dang it! I hate it when I can't remember shit. I was driving that, and I think those are very nice little EVs. Sandy Foltz says I'm on the road with my scooter. Kevin 007 Kevin Troll said MySpace was a social media chat in 1994. Was MySpace that long ago? I had MySpace. I had a MySpace account for a long time. Was it that? Has it been that long since that started? Wow. But yeah, that was the thing, man. That was the big thing. Like everyone jumped onto Facebook. I mean, to MySpace. That was really the first big, like what we have now. It started everything. Without MySpace, you wouldn't have Facebook. And without Facebook, you wouldn't have Twitter. And then we saw, YouTube come about, and YouTube has evolved to be more and more and more, from just being a place where you could post videos to being much more social with these chats. So anyhow, I am skipping down. VD Hertz says, Trucker John, you got it pretty much right. Thank you. See, now it's like I'm so far behind in the chat. I'm not exactly sure what that was in reference to, but I'll take it. If someone says I'm pretty much right, I'll take that. So thank you very much. AM says, isn't the tyrant asking tourists or workers to pay a Visa bond now. I'm not sure. I think I remember some talk of that. Aaron West says Trucker John has channel memberships and super chats. We didn't get any super chats today, but that's okay. We do have channel memberships starting as low as $1.99 a month. That's a pretty good bargain. It's pretty good value, I think. And so you can do that. There's a link to buy me a coffee, and there's also PayPal if you want to go that route. Brooklyn, when is Brooklyn? I already did. I already did it. I ate the dandelion on Sunday. We had a special Sunday edition of the Trucker John live stream, and I ate the dandelion. It was actually 3 dandelions. If you want to know the truth. Oh, and Josh says, Brooklyn, it was Sunday, special show. Brooklyn says, I miss it. Did he really eat it? Well, you know what? You can. It's not too hard to find. You can go to my channel, look at my playlists. Look under the Trucker John live stream playlist. And it should be one of the shows pretty recently. It was just, it was just a couple days ago. And you can watch it in the replay if you want, Oh, Danby, the movie was called Cliffhanger. Avalanche is different than Cliffhanger. Are those 2 different movies? Maybe. Crampon. Yeah, those crampon things, yeah. Yeah, Josh, it says he fried up 3 of them. Soulcraft Demolition Man. Yeah, I remember that movie. That was pretty good. 007 Kevin Lithgow played the enemy. Yeah, I remember that. I remember some sort of scene in a helicopter at the top of a mountain. That's all I'm going to say. Vinny Hertz, Jake Bro is great. I love Jake Bro. I think he's awesome also. Mr. Spock says TJ used the non-rules to his advantage. He fried it up with I didn't fry it with butter. I fried it up with vegetable oil, actually. And then ate it. It was actually just a little bit of vegetable oil. And then I kind of doused them in salt and pepper. And it actually tasted good. I don't know. I was probably just tasting the vegetable oil and the salt and pepper, but it tasted good. All right. It looks like I'm almost at the bottom of the chat here. Brooklyn says that stinks, AM. Oh, AM says, I had a coworker who would only call me when she was drunk in the middle of a weekend night, mostly Fridays. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh, but kind of made me laugh. Reedy Hurt's making my own Sicilian pizza from scratch right now. So that's pretty cool. I admire people who can cook for themselves and make good, tasty food. So it sounds pretty cool. And Mr. Spock says the Greeks invented pizza. The crust was ground up nuts, then olive oil and spices with goat meat. Yummy. That's yummy. Let me, I'm going to put on Boston Brian on my TV here. Boston Brian has got, he's got the picture with the check, the disgusting check about them paying for a girl that had been fully depreciated. I'm trying to figure out, does that mean that they just fucked her so much that she's, she's at the bottom of her value? Is that, what the fuck, man? That's so disgusting. Sandyful says, I like your gold sneakers. Yeah, that's the Gavin Newsom edition of these golden sneakers. Lynn, goat meat is tough. I had goat meat one time. As I recall, it was okay. We were at a barbecue. It was when I was going to college in New Mexico. I have to always emphasize New because people will always go, you went to college in Mexico? And I'm like, no, I went to college in New Mexico. Anyhow, there was someone that we knew that their family owned this ranch and they had some goats and they they took one of their goats, and we had this big barbecue the goat. And there's a bunch of college kids. We had this sort of outdoor barbecue party thing, and I remember eating the goat meat, and I don't remember it being tough or whatever. I don't know. It seemed okay to me. It seemed tasty and good. Of course, I was probably a little drunk and a little high, but whatever. And it's been so many years. I mean, who knows what it actually. I don't remember having an adverse reaction to it. I thought it tasted fine. All right, guys. I guess we'll go ahead and end the show. Thank you so much for being here. I do appreciate you. We have gone we've gone 2.5 hours. I'll be back on again tomorrow at 11 a.m. We want to pick up where we left off, or we can start anew. We can start anew. Sandy Folds is home now. Good to hear that you made it home safely. Brooklyn says, I lived in Jamaica when I went to college, Jamaica, Queens, New York. Vidi Hertz using a new raw sauce recipe. Supposed to cook the sauce while in the oven on the pizza. Hope it works. Vidi Hertz loves Queens. So anyhow, guys, I guess that's it for today. You guys all have a good day. Thanks for being here. I do appreciate you coming in, and I think we had some pretty civil. We kept it pretty civil today. I notice I didn't yell or snap at anyone. Maybe that's because Jen wasn't here. I don't know. Maybe Roxanne's right. I don't know. Anyhow, guys, I guess that's it for any announcements or anything going on. Just resist Trump 86, that motherfucker. We need to get him out of office. Or at least let's be strong and hang in there long enough to get to the 2026 midterms, and let's take back the House and the Senate, and let's really render him what's the term? Useless or whatever. Hopefully we can make it that far. A year. It's not that long, but then it's long. You know what I mean? Like, in other words, they can do a lot of damage in the next year. Him, Trump, and Stephen Miller, and all of his cronies. They still have a lot of time to do a lot of damage. So let's hope we can hang in there. Now, one of the good things, though, is we've been winning special elections, and the House of Representatives, the Republicans only have, I think, like a 3-seat advantage, right? Or 3 or 4. And there are some more special elections coming up because 3 House representatives have died, and then another one resigned. And I think 3 of them were pretty secure, I think, Democratic seats. So I think we should retain those. The 4th one was a Republican. I don't know if we can flip that one or not, but we've been seeing some good things in some of these special elections. Maybe we could grab that seat. And then we do have, I think, some that we just won that they're going to be sworn in. We might be looking at where the House only has a 1-seat majority. And who knows if by some way, what if we got it back? What if we did flip that one Republican seat? I don't know. I'm just dreaming. But the point is it's not. I guess my kind of main point is that it's certainly not a mandate. It certainly isn't like, sometimes we get trolls or Republicans in, and they want to say what a mandate it is, and the American people have spoken. Trump is your president. Just remember, Trump only won the popular vote by 1.4%. All of those swing states were very, very close. And now in the House of Representatives, they only have, I think, a 3-seat majority. And that's probably going to be shrinking down to maybe 2 or 1 seat before the midterm congressional elections. So I guess I'm just trying to grab onto any type of positivity that I can, just to stay sane. I guess that's what we got to do. So let's stay sane. Let's help each other stay sane for this next, well, forever, but especially for this next year. Let's hang on, and let's support the Democratic Party. Flaws and all. I mean, it's a flawed party, but it's still way better than the Republican Party, in my opinion. So anyhow, guys, thanks for being here. Only thing left to do now is the daily words of wisdom. So get your paper out, get your pen out, write this down, words to live by. Okay? All right, guys, here we go. So
well, it's time to say goodbye. The show has come to an end. But don't be sad, no, don't you cry. We're all gonna come back and meet again. Have some fun times, hopefully nothing too bad. We might talk about war crimes, might talk about Baghdad. I doubt we'll talk about door chimes, but if we did, I'd be only too glad. So hasta la vista, baby. The show is over, but could I ask you maybe to take a shower? No, that's not what I meant, but I couldn't think of anything to rhyme with over. Now my whole rhyming scheme is all screwed up. Oh shit, I should have stuck to truck driving, who I tried to kid. At least when I was out there driving, I could handle a skid, but doing this live stream, baby, has been a real kid. So I hope to see y'all again right here on the Trucker John live stream. We're gonna do it again and again, right here in the Trucker John live stream. Yeah, the Trucker John live stream. We're gonna come back and do it all again. No, this ain't no dream, this is where we win, right here on the Trucker John live stream. No, it's time to say goodbye. The show is coming in, but don't be sad, no, don't you cry. We're all gonna come back and meet again. Rolling down the highway in my rusty old rig. I'm a retired trucker, but my spirit's still big. Living in Vegas, where the lights never sleep. Broadcasting my thoughts for the world to keep. From politics to pop culture, I've got it all. Sharing my views want to take a trip down Paradise Road, but it ain't that pretty, it ain't paved with gold. Everybody's got the dirty little secrets, everybody's got some things unknown. But if you ain't real careful, baby, it'll cut you down to the bone. Under all those bright lights, you've gotta learn to ignore the glitter. It's all about fight or flight, and you don't wanna do either. So go on down to Paradise Road, it'll make you wish that you were young. But all it'll do is make you feel old and regret trading in your love for lust. It's all just a big charade, it's all just one big game, and it ain't about love, it's all about the thrills. It's about staying in the hunt, it's about going in for the kill. So head on down to Paradise Road, that's where your friends are now. They're the people that nobody knows. So go ahead and make your big show. So live it up on Paradise Road, just don't let anyone know. It'll be your dirty little secret, it'll be your guilty little pleasure. Living a secret that the whole world sees, hiding in plain sight among the scum and the thieves. It's so damn hard to ever be pleased. Everyone wants to live the good life, everybody wants a piece of paradise. But where would you run? Where would you hide? What would you do to buy a little more time? Grandiose dreams of happily ever after are really just another day's end. And when the sun goes down, you just lay there wondering, can you really do it all again? You're praying for one last shot, you're hoping for one last big win. Paradise Road is calling, so you better hurry along. Paradise Road is calling, so you better hurry along.
Show's over, I'm out of here, folks, bye!